For a growing company, when does it become essential to hire an in-house human resources director? So I get the question a lot for growing companies, starting out with just a few employees, and it starts growing. When does it become critical for a company to have an in-house director of human resources? So I want to talk about a few misconceptions that employers have, companies sometimes have, about in-house director of human resources, and it comes by a lot of different terms that or titles, that position: director of HR, director of people, and sometimes a lot of companies don't even have a director of human resources, but somebody like the director of operations takes on that role. So I want to talk about some of the misconceptions about that role, and then when it's critical that you have somebody in a company that is primarily focused on the human resources aspect for the company. So one, the director of human resources is not legally required. A company is not legally required to have somebody to fill this function, and it could be a number of people in a company that fills that function. But as I'll talk about here in this video, it's critical once the company gets to a certain size of employees, a number of employees, that somebody in the company is dedicated towards dealing with human resources issues. And it's really important that one person's dedicated towards this function so that if people complain, their complaints are being dealt with. If employees have payroll issues, that those are resolved quickly, as opposed to having this task given to somebody else, like a director of operations, who has a lot of other tasks and the HR issues aren't addressed efficiently. So I think the number of employees in the company is a primary consideration. With the more employees, as the company grows, then the director of HR becomes essential. The rough rule of thumb that I like is when a company hits about 50 employees, the company should be considering having an in-house director of HR, just to help with all the administrative issues that come up and to help protect the company from legal issues with that size with that number of employees. So the complexity of the workforce is another factor to consider. So if the company's involved in manufacturing, there's more need for in-house human resources because there's more likelihood of people getting injured and wellness issues being an issue in the workplace. So highly labor-intensive industries will likewise have an additional need for in-house human resources. So it really depends on the type of industry that the company's in as well. And also, I think the primary factor of when to hire a director of human resources is how long, or ensuring that the company can timely respond to any kind of complaints and that the company is effectively taking remedial actions for any workplace complaints. So, the California law does require that companies timely and effectively investigate any workplace, complaints of harassment, discrimination, or retaliation. And it's important that whoever's doing those types of investigations actually has some background and some knowledge. Now, the director of HR doesn't legally have to have any kind of certifications or degrees in resolving those issues, but it's better to have somebody with some experience so that they'll set the company up best to defend itself in any kind of litigation or defend the investigation and the outcome of that investigation should it be challenged by an employee after the fact. And really, the final factor that companies need to look at is the litigation that they're facing as well. And the director of HR really plays a critical role in helping manage litigation as well. For our firm, when we're dealing with employment issues, our primary contact in setting up a defense and dealing with discovery and litigation is usually the director of HR. And it's good to have somebody with some working knowledge of what's been happening in the workplace, relationships in the workplace, and things, how that's been playing out in the workplace. And they know the policies, how to get the documents, and things like that. The director of HR is critical for a lot of our clients in helping outside counsel defend claims and manage claims. And once you're at that point, you're at that size that you've got a lot of litigation, it's important to have somebody that can really help manage that litigation so that you're putting up the best defense for the company. So that concludes my thoughts of when a company should have a director of HR. If you have any questions or comments, I'd like to hear when you think a company should have a director of HR as well. Feel free to post any comments, and hope you enjoy the video. Thanks.